We are joined tonight by Christian Newton, candidate for the consulship of the Grand Republic of Delvera. Mr. Newton, good evening.
Good evening.
Let's jump right into it. Let me ask you, why is micronationalism important to you?
I really see micronationalism as a way of self-expression. When I first got into it, I saw it as a way of being different and showing creativity and everything that I'm truly capable of that I can't really do on the macronational level.
In your eyes, what is the greatest threat to Delvera in the foreseeable future, and also what is the greatest asset?
The biggest threat, I personally don't see any threats that we have at the moment because we have very strong government, very strong military. We're prepared for almost anything that comes our way. Strongest asset, I would also say, is definitely our military. It's the backbone of our nation, especially with the provincial militias, which I'm a part of, and I actually lead one of them. We're truly prepared for, like I said earlier, anything that really comes our way.
Regarding foreign policy, what sorts of alliances, if any, are you looking for Delvera to forge?
Personally, I've thought of a few ways that we could tackle this. One, as a way to legitimize ourselves, I would say that we cut ties with any entity that claims itself to be, a micronation and, unserious realms, anything that's really, not going to be serious or, let me rephrase that.
Sure.
I think we should really cut ties with entities that claim to be micronations, seeing that, we want to better legitimize ourselves, instead of seeing ourselves as a micronation, we can see ourselves as more of a microstate to actually, make history and possibly claim real independence, unlike other micronational entities around the world.
What nations do you currently see or consider to be on friendly terms with Delvera?
Micro or macro?
Micronations.
Micro, really, mainly the whole micronational community. We have a few instances with Carnea Ruthenia, which I'm a member of, but I don't really see them as a true, threat. I think we're really on good terms with everyone because we remain neutral in most, situations micronationally.
Where do you see our relationship with Carnea Ruthenia?
Right now, I wouldn't want to call it bumpy. I think we have had misunderstandings in the past, mainly due to, language differences and being in different parts geographically around the world. But I think our relationship right now, it's not bad. It's, neutral more or less.
Where do you see our relationship with the North American Confederation?
As of right now, or in the foreseeable future, or?
As of right now.
As of right now, honestly, I'm not exactly sure what we're doing with them. I know we were in the process of integrating with them, but from my understanding, that process was slowed down a bit. I'm not sure if it was on our end or if it was on the North American Confederation's end, but I would like to see them up for us very soon, under our jurisdiction.
Delvera has informal relations with the Kingdom of Frishtain and also Dueco Estates. Where do you see our potential relations with more geographically close micronations?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't know too much about the Dueco Estates and what was the second one,
the Kingdom of Frishtain.
Frishtain, yeah, I don't know much about these micronations, but I think it is good to have close micronations. That way, if we were to ever organize, a real event in real time, we could have other people attend and not just ourselves, obviously. This is if we are recognizing other micronations as legitimate entities.
What are your intentions regarding our relationship with the United States of America?
With the United States, if Delvera were to ever gain real independence, I think it would be great to have them as a close ally, seeing that we are situated within them. So I would say, under any circumstances, remain good relations with the United States.
What steps, if any, will you take to improve the circulation and use of the Curo?
Circulation and use of the Curo. Yeah, this idea was thrown around, but I think that the Curo should be circulated in each province. I think each province should be given a sum of Curos to use. With our online stores that we are planning to create, I think the Curos should be an option to be used amongst all the provinces.
What will you do to encourage the growth of the private sector?
The growth of the private sector.
Any tax policies, any incentive programs, or will you simply will you have a mostly laissez-faire approach to it? Will you just let it go and see what happens?
As of right now, I think it would be the laissez-faire because we don't have much of a private sector at the moment. I think if elected consul, I should let it grow, see what it grows into mainly, and then we can take it from there. We can work out the kinks or any problems if necessary.
What is your opinion on the concept of state-run industry? That is, industries that could potentially be a pursuit of the private sector, of a private business or organization. What is your opinion on state-run industry?
I think state-run industry, they should have the freedom to run as they please without the interference from the federal government. However, if that becomes a problem, then that would be the only time where we'd be allowed to intervene with them.
Regarding interprovincial commerce, that is commerce between provinces, for instance, Neosho trading goods with Lavrazia, how in your administration would you intend to best facilitate that? Are there any specific policies that you have in mind, perhaps differing from the current administration, or even furthering current administration policies?
Again, largely, I think they should be completely state-run. However, seeing that it's at the state government level, I think there should be minimal intervention from the federal government. They should be sanctioned, owned, and supported by their state governments. However, I would have to see how this would work out because personally, I've not traded with any other province, so I'm not exactly sure how the process would work. But again, I do think they should be largely state-maintained with minimal government intervention.
Regarding economic advancement in other micronations, do you have any particular policies in mind with which you would promote industry abroad?
Industry abroad, I don't personally think I would promote Delvera's industry in another micronation. However, I would support it macronationally. So let's say if we wanted to set up a shop selling our goods and our services in the United States or even in maybe a European country, I would be in support of that because firstly, it would encourage, like we said earlier, immigration. People would find out what Delvera is all about. Also, it would bring in a real income to our nation.
Switching to immigration, Mr. Newton, you have been greatly involved as the Assistant Minister of the Interior in formulating a lot of the passports and resources of citizens and new citizens and prospective citizens. How will you go about attracting immigrants?
I think it's really all about propaganda. I think we should really have, our passports in circulation, our coins, our flags, pamphlets, citizenship packets. I think we should really get those in circulation, upload videos and pictures to social media really to, let people know what Delaware is all about, show them that we do have an interesting history, a very rich culture, and, we are a functioning nation on our own. I think that really would be what would draw more citizens into the nation.
What screening process would you have in mind for prospective citizens, for immigrants, if any?
I wouldn't make the process very hard, seeing that we are currently a micronation. We are not on the macronational level of immigration. However, I do think there should be somewhat of a process, a screening process for, background checks to make sure that people coming into Delaware are who they really claim that they are. That's a, stricter background checks, really. Not just letting anyone in who claims, who they are. I think we should actually have a process, or maybe even a separate government ministry to check on that.
Would you be open to the possibility of quote-unquote naturalizing citizens of other micronations who choose to immigrate into Delveran jurisdiction? Perhaps immigrants who would be giving up their former micronational citizenship. For instance, if somebody got involved in micronationalism and had their own micronation and then perhaps decided that Delvera should not just be emulated but joined outrightly, Would you have a process by which they could be quote unquote naturalized?
I mean, that's kind of what I did when I first joined Delaware. I had my own little project, but it wasn't doing too well, and I saw much more potential in Delaware. So the process that we already have now of the provinces integrating in different territories and dependencies, I think we should keep that in place for any other entity that would possibly want to join us. Kind of like what we did with my province, Macedonia. We were actually a commonwealth before we were an official province, and then also the NAC currently undergoing the political process and joining us.
Can you speak to how your administration will address non-territorial citizens, that is, citizens of Delvera who are not in an actual province?
I think all non-territorial citizens should have the exact same rights as the territorial citizens. With a few limitations. Obviously, militia or being in the military is one of them because you can't exactly protect the land which you live in. So, but voting rights, having access to all of our internet forums, that we currently have, maybe even access, limited access within our government. I think they should all have the same rights.
Switching gears to law enforcement. Law enforcement in Delvera has been the subject of much conversation. Are confederal law enforcement agents a viable option in your administration?
I think they're always an option. However, I think our militias really do cover that. Our militias, act as our military, but also seeing that we're so small, I think they really have the jurisdiction of what really goes on. So I think it's always an option, but I don't think it's necessarily needed, in my opinion.
What is your position? And this question came about after some discussion among Delveran citizens in popular forums, somewhat tongue in cheek, but I think also it speaks to a larger question about Delveran law and the jurisdiction of confederal and provincial governments. What is your position on criminal memery as a punishable offense?
Criminal memery. Can you explain further what defines criminal memery?
Well, that's actually part of the debate. What would constitute a criminal use or misuse of memes in official and or unofficial governmental and or private sector settings?
I really believe in freedom of speech, so I think the only things that should be punishable are the public sharing of memes that are racist, sexist, or anyway offensive to any culture or people or gender or anything like that. Private use, obviously, I don't think we can control that.
So no edgy memes in the public sphere.
Nothing too edgy.
All right.
Obviously, with the freedom of speech, we can't tell them no. But anything that's offensive, I'd say it should be punishable.
Regarding the military, in your mind, what is the function and purpose of the Delveran military?
It is to protect all territories of Delvera. We exist to keep peace, to protect the citizens, and protect our land.
What changes, if any, would you like to see made to the structure of the military?
Personally, I think we have a good system going. Things in the past that were never formally incorporated, such as the inclusion of warrant officers, as specialty officers. It's definitely not needed. However, I think it would be a nice asset to have within the military.
How will you use the military to further Delvera's goals? Or are you not planning to use the military in an active way to promote any particular policy in your administration?
I don't plan on using our military unless it's definitely needed. I still believe in, regular training, regular drill, everything like that. However, I don't think we should use any sort of military force unless we are threatened. I don't think we should use our military offensively, only defensively.
What are your thoughts on micronational war in general from a realistic standpoint?
Realistically, I think they're pointless because most of them, as we all know, take place over the internet, which is not a war. It's more of like a Cold War. I think micronational cold wars or internet wars should not even be classified as war. I think the only means of war should be physical. So let's say there's a micronation situated closely to us who poses a real threat, then I think the only acceptable use of the term war micronationally.
When we formulated these questions for what ostensibly would have been a debate, but subsequently became individual interviews, we had one particular hardball question for each candidate.
Okay.
These questions were formulated 10 days ago. That's when the last edit to this document was made. So your hardball question is: when you left Del Vera in 2016, you said that you could see better future prospects in Carnea Ruthenia, a nation in which you still hold citizenship. Has this opinion changed? And will Del Vera be your first priority if you are elected consul, or will you choose to leave at some future date?
Yes, my opinion has changed. However, I will make Del Vera my top priority if elected consul. My opinion has changed because I've spoken earlier in a private conversation. The titles in Carnea Ruthenia are largely ornamental. They don't have much, I don't want to say much meaning because that's not exactly true, but they are very ornamental. Whereas in Del Vera, with the title comes actual responsibility and leadership. If elected consul, I'm going to cut back in my political career in Carnea Ruthenia and focus primarily on the betterment of Del Vera.
Thank you, Mr. Newton, for your time. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to run for consul. I hope I'm elected. That's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.